Oh, and you thought that I couldn't get any more clickbaity than my piece about Sekiro and the design not working. For today's video, we're going to be discussing a very serious problem that Fortnite and by extension Royale design has, and why there doesn't seem to be a proper solution to it just yet. Alright, we're starting things a little bit differently tonight, as there's some bit of news that came out yesterday regarding Fortnite and Epic's basically production schedule for the game. Now, as we all know, Fortnite has become a very big name in the Battle Royale genre, especially for its constant updates of events, weapons, little mini weird things, costumes, dances, you name it. And while that all sounds great for the consumer, it is not so much for the developers. As anonymous people within Epic are saying that essentially they are working, as it says right here, an average of 70 hours a week. And they are just being overworked, I guess to say the least, when it comes to Fortnite's design. And while Fortnite is certainly doing a lot better than Apex Legends following its massive drop after a month of being in the highlight, this does raise some very big problems, and it's something that I think the Battle Royale genre has not figured out yet. When it comes to any multiplayer-based game, these titles live or die based on their ability to create, foster, and maintain a community of players. Without people to play with, you have no multiplayer game. It doesn't matter how great the game is. It doesn't matter the design. Without it, you're sunk. And this has led to many different developers trying various ways of keeping players invested. The simplest one is also the hardest, and that is continued content support. New maps, weapons, you name it. And while that is the easiest way to keep people entertained, the more stuff there is to do, the more they're going to stay around, it's not a long-term solution. And any game, no matter what the development team is, cannot keep working at that pace, putting out new content on a weekly or monthly schedule. I remember following the announcements of DC Universe Online, I think the studio head or somebody bragged that they were going to put out expansion level content every month after the game was released, and the very first month they missed their deadline. It's just not possible to do. Either A, you're going to run out of ideas, or B, your team's just going to get sick and tired of working and all going to get up and leave. But the problem, and what this relates to with Fortnite and the Battle Royale genre, is that the genre itself is just not designed around essentially keeping people invested in it. The gameplay or the core gameplay loop doesn't work to maintain persistence. Why should I keep playing Fortnite just to get, the winner? If I win one night, why should I play this every night? Why should I play every hour of the day? And nobody, and unfortunately the answer of trying to compete with Ninja or be a top name streamer is not an answer here. And from the piece that we showed at the beginning, what Epic has done is basically go for the continued development. And like we said, it works. There's a reason why Fortnite continues to stay big while something like Apex Legends has dropped off so well. Because there's no new content. And if you're not keeping people entertained, then they're not going to stick around. But the problem, and what's the serious concern for Battle Royale, is that this gameplay loop is not interesting enough just on its own to keep people invested in playing. Again, if I win a match of Apex Legends or Fortnite or PUBG, what's my reason to keep playing? Am I going to get a different map? Am I going to get different tactics? No. It's basically the same thing again and again. There is no variance in the play. And more importantly, Fortnite and the rest of the Battle Royale genre lack something that is very vital for long-term multiplayer games. And that is player-created content. Now, when we use that term, most of you are probably thinking of mods. Gun skins, custom emotes, a Steam Workshop, etc., etc. But when we talk about player-created content in the context of multiplayer games, we're referring to titles where the players themselves are basically the content itself. And there's several ways of doing this. The first is from a community aspect. Clan versus clan play, setting up groups, being able to team up with people that you like or you find, and hang out, play, role play, anything like that. There's also the competitive aspect. Again, faction versus faction, clan versus clan. You're meeting with people that you know and you're trying to compete with them to be the very best. And you're meeting with people on a regular basis. That's the important point. It's not just you fighting 98 other random people every night. It's that you get to know people, you get to know competitors, get to know their styles, and play like that. And then by extension, player-generated content also provides a way for the player to essentially customize the experience or how they play the game themselves. Fighting games and CCGs are some of the best examples of this. There may be, millions upon millions of people who play as Guile or Scorpion or any other fighting name character you can think of, but everyone has their own unique way of playing. It's what we see at the Grandmaster level at fighting game tournaments. When you watch someone like Sonic Fox play a game, he's different than someone like PR Balrog, and I think that's all the fighting game people I can remember off the top of my head. CCGs are another great example, because you're able to customize your strategy based on both the meta as well as what you like. Whether it is, are you going to play a Shaman in Hearthstone, Nilfgaard in Gwent, or etc., etc. But the point is that how you play the game can be different not only by what you do, but what your opponents do. And that creates content. Again, this is why competitive-based games, or games that allow you to play against other people, whether it's single or in a group, tend to have long legs, at least in that front. But with that said, though, the important thing to understand is that just because you have player-generated content, that doesn't, wipe or waive the developer's responsibility to keep supporting it. The most important aspect when it comes to a multiplayer-based game is metagame balancing, making sure that the game doesn't become too stable. Because as we all know, once everyone knows what the best item, the best card, the best fighter is, it's all over. You're going to be fighting 50% of people who are playing as the best character, and the other 50% are those who are trying to counter that. And without having more content to generate or balancing, your game's just going to die right there. But you still need some level of new content. And again, this can be everything from a brand new character, a new map, a new skin, you name it. People expect that. But to put or to demand work or new content being released on a week-by-week basis is insane. And like we said at the start, it is not sustainable. Eventually, you're going to run out of things to do, or again, people are just going to stop wanting to work there and get out. But this is a very serious problem about Fortnite, and again, by Battle Royale design. There's no persistence to this kind of design. Again, how you play one map is exact same way you play the next. It doesn't matter what weapons you get, all play kind of devolves into the same thing, and there's nothing that keeps people invested in it. And like we said, this sounds like it's not a bad problem. Just keep adding more content, but it doesn't work like that. And the very best multiplayer games, again, will drive themselves towards player-generated content, and most importantly, that will be at the quote-unquote endgame. Every MMO or online-based title that features like a level cap or anything like that, they will always try to set up the endgame around player versus player. They don't want to keep expanding the content at the endgame because that's a lot more work. And again, there's only so much you can do. Every World of Warcraft expansion that has come out that has raised the level cap, there are people within like 24 to 40 hours who will already reach that level cap again. Again, it's just not a sustainable way to build a multiplayer game. But when you have the community playing against each other or teaming up with each other, that is stuff that it never runs out of as long as you have people playing. And even when we talk about games like CCGs or fighting games, where you're still competing with each other, there's still that level of customization. There's that fact that you can see how or recognize a player based on how they control their character or their deck or anything like that. But we're going to switch to some game footage, as I want to talk a little bit more about what this means for Battle Royale design going forward, and if there is an easy solution for this. But as always, a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters and sponsors. And now for a quick thank you to our Patreon backers, as well as to our current Game Wisdom sponsors. And if you'd like to continue this discussion on game design, be sure to check out our Discord channel, linked down below. If you're a fan of Game Wisdom and looking for a little bit of collectible swag, anyone who donates $25 or more via Super Chat or on patreon.com/wbicer will get your hands on this lovely little Josh box. This is a hand-detailed box that comes with a USB drive containing 10 hours of some of my favorite podcasts done throughout the years. This is only available for the month of April 2019. Afterwards, we'll have to weigh in and see if people want more Josh boxes in the future. So if you're interested, be sure to get those donations in now before this offer runs out. We're going to let some B-roll of Apex Legends play out here. And again, don't be expecting any pro-level play for this footage. But Apex Legends, Fortnite, PUBG, and all the rest of these games still suffer from this fact that the development of these games becomes an endless black hole of more and more content needed to come out to keep people engaged. And like we said, no online game can last indefinitely on that model. You have to some extent turn it over to the players, or you're just going to run out of things to do. And the issue or the big question is, what's the alternative? What can be done, or if things can be done, to make Battle Royale sustainable? And I've talked to a few people about this, and I think, again, it has to go to some kind of player-created content. There's arguments about having maybe a season or ladder plays beyond just, individuals. I think there needs to be more group versus group or clan versus clan play. Again, Apex Legends puts you in 3-man squads, but those are random players. There needs to be more of, I'm not sure what the exact term would be, whether it's more of a professional setup or more of like an official setup for allowing groups of people to team up and play. But the problem, of course, that you run into is that the whole point of Battle Royale, at least what's been designed around it, is supposed to be a 99-man or whatever, no-holds-bar match on some strange map. And it does raise, again, that big question. What's keeping people playing a Battle Royale when we remove all the additional content? And I'm going to ask you that. Why do you think would people keep playing a Battle Royale game if there was no continued support in terms of new weapons or maps or things like that? We see in the fighting game genre and older first-person shooters that people continue to play those games due to just how varied the matches can get, and they do build up that stable of community players, experts, and things along those lines. But when we look at Battle Royale, again, this raises some big questions. What makes Ninja different from someone like Dr. Disrespect? And not just in terms of their setup, but how do they play adds any sense of personality or customization to the Battle Royale genre? And the answer is no. There's not much that separates a top-tier Battle Royale player from one another due to just the strict limitations of this core gameplay loop. When we look at other genres, you can see that difference. Somebody who is a pro-level Hearthstone mage deck player is different than someone who is a warrior class or archetype. Same for Gwent, same for fighting games. Again, the players allow for some level of customization and some way of bringing their personality into it. And for the games that don't allow for that, you then fall back on the group play. This is why MMOs will focus on either PvP play strictly or clans, factions, etc. Something to tie people together and keep them playing. Because there is not one MMO that can sustain itself again on just pure developer content. And what we've seen is that when developers run out of ideas or they don't want to keep supporting a game anymore, that is the sign that game is dead. Doesn't matter what the fan base thinks. And this is what we've talked about before when it comes to online-based games. That unwritten contract between developer and fans. The fans agree to keep supporting the game, keep playing it, keep bringing people to it. Developers keep supporting it and make sure it stays balanced, that the game isn't buggy, and that there's more things to do. But you need both groups to play or to fulfill their roles. Because without them, these games don't work. And as we've said before, the downward spiral effect for these games is real. Once people start leaving, it will become hard to find people to play with, which in turn will drive more people away. And if you don't have people streaming this game or evangelizing it, well, more and more people aren't going to want to play it. And when that happens, it becomes to the point where who's going to be around to play this game? It could be a legitimately great title, but if you need 99 people to play it and you can't find them, then it's dead. We saw this unfortunately with Lawbreakers, we saw this with Evolve, and who knows how many more Battle Royale style games are going to fall onto that list in the coming months. But to begin to wrap things up, Epic's development schedule is just not a sustainable way of building and cultivating an online title. And the Battle Royale genre is very limited in terms of its player-generated content. And if you don't have that, there's just no way to keep these games going long term. Because somebody is going to run out of things to do, or run out of ways to keep making this game interesting. But for those of you watching this right now, here's my question for you. What are some of your favorite online games where the reason you played it was not due to the content of the game, as in the developer adding more stuff in? What was your favorite examples of player-generated content in a game that kept you playing it far longer than you would have otherwise? I guess for me, it would probably be the friends I made playing Left 4 Dead. And how, oh my goodness, we played so many matches of that game. The same exact maps, but it was different because of how we switched up the teams every time. And again, when the player can kind of leave an impact on the game space, whether it is indirectly by, being just like this presence or something like that, or directly by having their own sense of customization, it adds more to the game. And no amount of dance emotes or gun skins or random events will take the place of that. But thank you so much for watching today's video, and I ended just as I got killed too. That's perfect. Be sure to check back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where examine the art and science of games. Until next time, have a good night. If you're looking for a book on design, my first title, 20 Essential Games to Study, is out now. It is available where most books are sold, and it comes in paper, hardcover, or digital copies. This is the perfect book for anyone interested in learning about game design, whether you are a student, enthusiast, or just a fan. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel link down below where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, And tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.